Hey everybody, welcome to the Roundliner podcast where we explore all parts of existence. So if the existence is something you're interested in, why you're here, what this is, this whole thing we're involved in here, you must like it because otherwise you wouldn't be here watching this. But yeah, you can do click the thumbs up, subscribe, all the deals with that. I'm not going to waste your time. We have a really exciting, very cool guest today. This is Rachel Corpus. Rachel is an Angelic Incarnate channel. And I'm not going to try and explain that. I'm going to let Rachel do that for everybody here. But you have a really interesting story. There's all kinds of stuff to go into here. So I would love for you to just, let the audience and let everybody know who you are and what you would like to share with everybody.
No one's ever called me cool before, so thank you. Let's just start there. Baseline.
Gotcha.
You have made my day.
No problem.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm really grateful for any opportunity to share this wild story. And also, I never thought I would because I didn't fully trust that the world would be in a place where those of us who have experienced things like this would be able to authentically share. But here we are. So I guess my intention is we're going to share this story because those who've experienced it will feel seen, and those who haven't yet, this is part of your awakening. So here we go. Let's do it. So I'm a regular person like everybody else. I'm a mom and I'm a wife, and I've done all the things, been through all the things, regular life stuff. When I was 4, I had my first near-death experience. And in that first near-death experience, my family was hit by a drunk driver. And I was taken to the other side. And the angels that I had really already been seeing, because like many children, I was having psychic experiences. Those guardian angels took me to the other side and they're like, hey, you're one of us. You're a Seraphim Angel. They gave me a tour. They showed me all around that place. And in that near-death experience, I was navigating between my 4-year-old self and my higher consciousness. I had this grown-up lady voice, this voice you're hearing right here. And they showed me lots of things about the future of the world. And I remember that near-death experience because I was in that adult consciousness, plus being 4 years old. So I want to start there for just a moment because that's why I call myself an angel incarnate. Because they said, everybody on earth is from somewhere. You're not special because you're an angel. You're special because everyone's special. You're beloved. But everyone on earth is from somewhere. They're from another planet. They're from the angelic realm. Everybody's chosen to be in their physical body. They called it an avatar. I didn't know what the heck that meant, but that's the word they used at that time. They also used the word costume. That made more sense to me because my mom was a costume designer at that time. So I said, okay, cool. And they said, you're all here on Earth to explore, to learn. So they showed me some things about Earth. And then they gave me a choice to stay on heaven and do my mission or go to Earth. At that point, I remembered my mama and I didn't want to make her sad. So I was back in my body. All right. So life goes on. I grow and I navigate this angel incarnate psychic thing best I can. Later on in life, really just a few years ago, among my other kind of out-of-body astral travel kind of weird things that I do, I had another near-death experience. And in this near-death experience, I saw what was explained to me outside of the matrix. And I want to connect a couple of things because from 4 years old to this, I had been seeing things in between that allowed me to know, okay, this place is not made up. We're not in a simulation, like some sweaty teenager isn't playing us somewhere like a game board, but we are collectively making this place up as we live here by our thoughts, our experiences. Like there is something at play here where we're creating this place, but I didn't really know what that meant. But there is this time where I was laying beside my husband and my body was not healthy because I had been drinking a lot. I was an alcoholic. And I had been told by God, I heard a voice from God that had said, you know, honey, if you quit drinking, You can do anything you want.
Yep.
But if you keep drinking, you're going to die in 3 weeks. Around that same time, I had a near-death experience. And what happened there was I was pulled out of my body. And I saw my husband sleeping there. I saw my body. And as I was drawn out of my body, then I saw this control room. And in this control room, there was a woman there. And all these other, they look like people, regular people working in this beautiful control room with these beautiful walls, high-tech computers that look like holograms. And there was a balcony up above with other humans there. And some of them felt like they were managers or overseers. None of this felt like it was impending or bad. It just felt not Earth. And I was surprised because I'd never seen anything like this. This woman at the computer was clearly looking at me and my husband in bed and typing something on the computer. Other people were looking at other people on Earth, and there were screens, and every screen had somebody else on it. It kind of reminded me when you see like a Christmas movie and they're looking at the naughty list, and you can see a kid. It reminded me very much of that. When they saw me, and they realized I could see them, everybody in the room kind of noticed. Instead of me going back in my body, they took me on a tour. And I really don't know if they were waiting for this to happen or if it happened sometimes. When I ask my guides this question, they say people are waking up, and before, let's say years before in Earth time, when people would wake up early, it would put them back in and give them kind of a dose of amnesia. But since people are waking up now, it creates a tour. People are waking up and remembering. And so I had one of those experiences. So what ended up happening was they took me around this place that is actually a planet that they called Soul Exile 13. And it was this place that had all these different levels. And what I remember there is I was observing people going through a process. I was watching people go through an orientation. And I watched a group of people go through this first room where they were talking to each other and kind of discussing where they were from. And they weren't scared, but they were just saying, I'm from this place, I'm from this place. What are we doing here? We don't know. How long have you been here? I think I just got here. They were in their regular clothes, some in pajamas, some in work clothes. And then the door opened, a humanoid came in. And I'm saying humanoid because it was pretty clear that this wasn't a human. It was kind of like an animatronic. And I remember thinking, these people don't notice that it's a humanoid. I really don't think they noticed. And I don't know why that was. But it was clear. I felt like I was watching it was weird. It was a humanoid. But they were talking to this being, they were talking to this being like it was human. And this being kept saying, you'll get answers later. Just listen. Just follow me. They went into this next room. And the being was saying just really things like, listen, you'll learn later. Be calm, be calm. And they kept going through this progression of rooms where every room they learn a little bit more. As I followed them, I noticed things like they were now wearing matching clothing, not prison uniforms or anything, but matching clothing. And it was comfortable clothing, but it was all one color. I looked down, I was also wearing this clothing, and I didn't know how I got it, but it was just like a vibration. It was a change in vibration. Then I got to sit in on the orientation, and we were all told that this is a place where we are getting retrained. And we'll go through these classes every day. We'll be housed, we'll go through these classes, we'll be fed, and that's all we have to do. So these people kind of started to freak out a little bit because they're like, well, what about our kids? What about my job? I have this project due. And these humanoids said, well, answer your questions later. Just follow along. There's a man in the class who said, kind of whispered to somebody, don't question, because if you question too much, you're going to have to start this process over. Like he had done it before or something. So we kept going, and then every level was a little bit different. And you could see how people had graduated these levels. So every level got a little more comfortable. The first level was very basic. The housing was so basic that the bed was very sterile. It still had a mattress, but very sterile. No art on the wall, nothing like that. The food was very basic, as if they were helping us get used to the climate. And also I got the message that if we had anything in our bodies that could be a contaminant, this was the time when we were getting rid of those contaminants and not spreading it to everybody else there. You're kind of in a containment process. The classes that we were in were weird. They're asking us questions about what we remember from our childhood. We'd have a class simply about kindergarten. What do you remember about kindergarten? Or classes about what do you remember about your father? What do you remember about the way your third grade teacher made you feel? Questions like that. They were never about any content about mathematics or anything like that. It was all about life. And then as we got further up, then another level, would be more comfortable.
Yeah.
The living situation would be more comfortable. The clothing would change. The food would be different, would be better. We'd have more time to eat. There'd be more permissions. At one point, we could even go outside. And the classes felt more like therapy sessions. And they would ask us more about what we remembered from falling in love. What is important about life? What is the meaning of life? Questions that didn't really have answers, but they wanted to know what we thought. And this whole time that we were there, I'm on this tour, but it felt like I was there forever. And I'm watching these people who clearly have families on Earth that are also in relationships here on Soul Exile 13. And they're navigating both. So then we get to this point where they take me into this room, and this room is full of pods. And I realize when we're in the room of pods that something I'd been seeing my whole life was finally making sense, because I had been waking up my whole life and seeing this pod room, and it kind of freaked me out. Didn't know what it meant. And they said, this is not a prison. We want you to know that every body here in a pod, and these pods were vertical, everybody was in this fluid. It was clear fluid. The eyes were closed. And there were workers around checking on the vitals of all these bodies, and they were stacked from, I couldn't even see the ceiling. They went so far up. And then there was a rotating system that some of them could come down and get checked and then go up. They said that who I saw walking around on Soul XL 13, those bodies are not in the pods. They're there. But anytime a person incarnates somewhere else, that's just a projection. And the physical body stays there. And they said that Earth is no longer, like you and I talking here, they said Earth is no longer in existence. This is now a holographic projection.
Right.
And so they walked me around this place and they showed me in great detail how this works and how there's nutrients put into this fluid and how the bodies are checked on. All of these bodies were young, I would say below 30. And at some point, I had a choice to go back in. And when I went back into the fluid, I had a couple of seconds to push a button. And the button would help me kind of fall asleep before the fluid filled up. And then I had another button that would allow me to either remember my experience or not. And I pushed the one to help me remember. And then I woke up in my bed. That's the gist of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of detail in there. I mean, it felt like I was there for a week, even though I was just there for, I don't know how long, probably just, let me think, an hour, maybe? Because when I say near-death experience, it's probably not accurate. I probably wasn't that close to death, but my heart was slowing down. And I remember that I had angels around me saying to me, "We've got you. We're going to put you back in your body." And that's part of the angel part of me. But I heard them say, "We've got you. Stay here. You need to see this. You need to speak this out later."
Excellent. That's monster.
Wow.
So let's see here. So okay. So where to begin? I don't even know. So let's do this here. So to kind of could you explain a little like how much details did they give you about? Okay, so there's this thing pods here, and then you're projecting into that. Did they talk about the environment that is being projected into, like how the technology works or anything? Did you see like a picture? Did you see visuals of like Earth stuff like that? Anything?
Well, as far as I know, the little that I saw was that our consciousness is what projects it, that we use vibrational frequency to project this. So when they were at the computers, they were looking at things like our physical bodies when they were there. The computers were linked into the pod system, so that was helping regulate the pods. They were also looking at different levels of Solex L13, so I'm looking at like hydroponics. They were looking at all things there, in addition to overseeing this place as well, this version of Earth. But the actual projection, they said it's created by our consciousness, that we are creating it, and they are bystanders. They're watching it. And when they showed me that, it looked like an Ethernet cord. And I saw it changing in real time. So when they were asking those questions about, what do you believe is the meaning of life? Those questions were important because it affects that Ethernet cord.
Yep.
It keeps it healthy and moving. And they, according to them, and when I've gone back through meditations later to just ask them more questions, that's not something that they create over there. They have help from other beings. I have noticed that there's Pleiadians that help them there. There's Arcturians, Andromedans, Lyrans. There are councils that go and help, but they help as advisors.
Right.
So this doesn't seem to be a siloed place that's on its own. It is collaborative. And then you asked me a cool question before we went on air, as if, are there only humans and humanoids there? I had not thought of that before, but it does match that idea that there are councils coming in to help counsel. And so even though everyone there looked human or humanoid, their spirit inside could be from someplace else. And so that structure there is almost like a melting pot of different beings.
Mm-hmm.
But how this place is being created, all of us here, also being from all different places, we're creating that Ethernet cord, that major timeline. It used to be made of so many different timelines in the multiverse, and now those timelines are coming into one. As we awaken, we're doing it with our consciousness. And it just seems to be creating something that looks like technology, but it's not. It's all vibration. And we're so good at turning vibration into matter that we do. We can.
Yeah.
It's our talent.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's a major sticking point for people that are very locked into this like Newtonian physics. Like they just, oh, I know there's atoms, and I hear this quantum mechanics thing and stuff. And I always want to be like, do you understand that particles, literally subatomic particles, pop into existence?
Yeah.
And there, and we'll,
Just keep looking.
yeah,
Looking closer and closer and closer. Keep breaking it down. It's all energy. We are all energy. And it's created with thought.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
what I learned there in that experience is what I learned in the heavenly realm, whether I'm there before I'm in this version of Rachel, or I'm there as Angel Incarnate. When we vibrate at the vibration of love, or if we can't get love, at peace or safety, we start to create things out of just simple matter, but we start to create. We can move matter. We can create out of matter. We can manifest things. We can heal things. And that's exactly what we're doing on Soul XL 13 and these other iterations of where people go when they see the pods. And people think it's a prison when they first hear that, because what I believe, my opinion is, we feel like we're in a prison here because we undergo limits, or we're told we're not worthy enough, or we can't do something. So when we see another possibility, we automatically think, oh, that must be a prison. That must be a trap. It's not, though. We're in such a high vibratory form. That's a place where we can create anything. And I learned over there that the greatest gift in me seeing that is when I got back here, I realized, oh my gosh, we can create anything. And that's why they asked me to share it out, because if we can start to realize that, we are unstoppable.
Yeah. So I had a question, and then it of course left my head, and then it goes, yes, it. Oh, okay, here's what it was. Yeah, so they asked you, what's the purpose of life? What's the meaning of life? What did they give you answers on that? I'm sure other people had all different answers, but what was their answer on that?
Let me go back to what I heard in that classroom. Okay, so first, what I remember happening is it became a group discussion, and a lot of people talked about their children and family and love and service, serving others. And then it went toward religion. It went that way for a while. It went to God, religious God. And then it came back to, why are you asking us this? And then someone asked the leader, what do you want us to say? What do you want us to say? Or what do you think? And the leader said, we are not leading you toward an answer. We simply want to know where you are on your path. And then there are some, I'll call them elders, that came in, and these are, I'll say, people that have been there for a long time. And they came in just to share their thoughts. And really the consensus in the group was that they had been talking about how some of them had been there so long, and they had found that they could love their family on earth and miss them, but also fall in love here on Soul XL 13 and find that their love had expanded so much that they had found the meaning of life was expansion of love. Loving as much as possible and learning to love themselves through very difficult things, no matter what, unconditional love. And someone else was saying something that's very close to my angelic mission, which is to help each other remember that we're not separate from each other, that we can lean on each other no matter what, and that we are literally connected to each other. Even though we look like we're in different avatars, we are really the same person. That came up as well. So it does seem to have an answer.
Yeah.
They were wanting us to come up with it, as good teachers do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of, one of the other things that I've gotten is from different people I've spoken to, my own experiences, and that is that so what you're talking about, expanding love, standing on your own 2 feet, kind of moving forward, there is a giant problem with the opposite, kind of where people get stuck in this kind of victim mentality. I want somebody to do things for me, somebody come and make it better. Like, they're not, it's like, anybody, it will just say up and out there outside of this is like, hey, I can help you to a certain extent, but you have to go and do the stuff yourself. I can point out if you're not going to walk there and drink, it's, we don't have the ability to do that. And if I did, what would be the purpose of being down here? What's the purpose of life if I sit here and do everything for you?
Right.
Yeah. What's the opposite of never being born and never dying? Well, being born, living, dying. So it's the reflection of, without actually being different. So then what was I believe that one of the other things I was going to ask, so we have Earth and we have all of these different people that are currently, all these points of awareness that are tied to a physical body. So we're connected together here. One of the things I'd heard you and I believe other different people talking about was that there are sort of some different people here that we would refer to as maybe POWs, from some different intergalactic sort of issues and things that have taken place in the past. Do you have the ability to go into that? They explain that kind of stuff to you?
And what do you mean by POWs?
That there were these different sort of wars or things that had happened at some point in what we call our space or outside of that, and that whoever won has people that kind of put in different places. And so I wasn't sure if, that is that we'll just say one side acted really poorly, and those are things that are kind of in the reprogramming type things. Or if it was just simply, one person, one group against another group and somebody won, and, this just happens to be what happens to somebody else afterwards. What's your understanding of all of these different quote unquote, I'm using the word wars because that's what I hear other people say that are talking about this. What would be the causation of these things? What would people understand about that?
Well, just like we have wars here on Earth, there are galactic wars. And these wars are for resources, they're for power, and sometimes they are for valued members of the galactic society. There are kidnappings, there are people that get lost, and there's certain factions will go after those people to rescue them or to kidnap them. It's the same thing that happens on Earth, and it happens on a greater scale in the galaxy. And I feel a little vulnerable saying that because it sounds like I'm saying a Star Trek script, but it's true.
I was literally just going to say, I tried to explain to people, I said, okay, it's not as bad as Earth. People are a lot more intelligent and everybody has weapons. They're really easily able to destroy and annihilate each other. So it's not the same kind of stuff that happens down here. It seems to be more important. But yeah, I don't think the resources, minerals, all this different stuff. I said, unfortunately, the physical dimension is a 3D dimension. It has limited resources. So until you pop out of here and you're existing in the 4-5 kind of level type of thing, this is what we deal with. But, you had mentioned people coming from other races, other space places, other different dimensions, galaxies, all this different jazz, to experience what is supposedly, I guess, like the only kind of really dualistic learning environment to be able to go to.
That's here.
Outside of here very much. The emotions are more intellectual based as opposed to people feeling like, so passionate they do crazy things down here. And one of the issues with humans is that when put into those other environments, we tend to also be very emotional and egotistical. And so that causes problems because if you're in a dimension where your thoughts are heavily, heavily infecting everybody else, it's almost like you're coughing on people and it spreads. So that's kind of one of the reasons that, I said to people, have you ever thought, wow, it would be great if people could kind of learn about who they are and then we actually have them be in the real world? And they're like, yeah, that's great. I'm like, you nailed it. There you go, man. I don't know, to put it down at that level, that seems to be what's going on.
This is our school. This is our school where we learn how to be.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it is. And we're all doing really well doing it because this is supposed to be hard work. The thing that's getting corrected on Earth right now is this Earth, we created it with Source to be a learning place. And it has a spectrum of high vibration, neutral, low vibration, But the low vibration stuff that we get to learn from, it got corrupted. So the low vibration stuff, a lot of it has become prostituted or pimped out for reasons that can be profitable or loosed. Energy can get sucked from it. And so where the first iteration of Earth, that first generation of Earth was for all of us to come here to learn, it's changed. It's now lopsided because the low frequency of Earth is now overactive. And that's created a lot of wars. And now what the big awakening is that the stuff that's polluted the lower end of it, instead of it getting recycled and going back in, it's now coming up. So we're all aware of it. So we can see it, wash it out, and then upload it into the libraries like the Akashic Records, etc. So then we get back to the original iteration of Earth, which is their usual spectrum. So when people say there will become a time that Earth doesn't have war, which I've heard myself say years past, it'll always have war. It'll always have hunger, etc. But it'll be because we will choose to come here in a sacred way to learn, meaning that sometimes I'll be the perpetrator. Sometimes I'll come here to be the victim, just like you will, because that's the path we chose. Instead of coming in here and getting locked into any sort of like reincarnation trap or any prison system here on Earth where we're stuck in that gooey lower frequency stuff because it got corrupted and too off balance. That seems to be what's getting fixed right here. And there are a lot of people coming here from like Soul XL13 or from the Angelic realm, from Pleiades, all the different places. And they're coming here by choice because once they've been to other places, just like when we travel, once you've been to another place and you've learned, then you can come back and you have a different perspective.
Yeah.
And many of the people that are incarnating, our young ones especially, they're not coming in with as much amnesia from their other lifetimes. They're coming in with a remembrance because the amnesia, being born and you don't remember anything from the other lifetimes, that was part of the old way, the trap. And it's starting to lift off. So we've got these kids remembering, we've got people our age who are starting to remember who we are through dreams, through meditations, ayahuasca journeys, plant medicine, things like that. And, of course, we don't need to do stuff like that because we have everything within us already, but plant medicine can help.
It helps.
But really, people don't need that. But, you can do it, but it's all within us already. We have all of that, and we're decoding it because we're ready. We're at that time.
So really quickly, because you mentioned Lush, some people may not know what that is. I can go in and talk about their own stuff. Would you like to tell them? I'd like to hear how you talk about that.
Our angelic definition of Lush from the angelic realm, how we talk about it as Seraphim, is that when we see humans who are feeling extreme emotion, elation or fear, that when that energy is felt, the substance that comes from it, that's Lush, the energy substance. And then that substance belongs to the person who created it. That's yours. That's your resource. Belongs to you. It's your gold. And at one point, let's talk about our reptilian population that live amongst us. They were around in ancient times, ancient Earth times, and they were around looking for gold. Frankly, they were looking for resources. But when they got here, they noticed our Lush. They noticed the human Lush. I'm like, oh, that's tasty.
Right.
And then they noticed it so they're like, well, that's better than the gold. Let's try to do more of that. Let's get more of that. And that's when the Lush started to get farmed. And honestly, that's when the spectrum got off balance, because when they could create more fear and propagate that, more Lush came from it. And now, even with, sadly, the ecstasy, the joy, when that's even getting loosed. So the clue is, when you think you're getting loosed, all you have to say is, I don't consent, or that's mine. And then it blocks it. I ended off, even though I'm an angel incarnate, like everybody else, I have my own guardian angels. Everybody has guardian angels. They're not religious. If you identify as religious, then your angels are, but they follow your belief system. But everybody has non-human beings with them that are assigned to you when you're created by source. You can hand it off to them. You could just say, hey, I'm aware of Lush now. So if you see me being siphoned, I do not consent. Turn that off. It's mine. You could handle it that way, or wait till you feel it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You brought up something else too, is the phrase soul trap. So for anybody else here who doesn't know anything about this, I'll flop into it real quick for you guys. So if you look at the cycles of reincarnation, the Buddhism, Hinduism, everything except what am I thinking of? Abrahamic faith. Okay, so and in which when you go from the regular Abrahamic faith to Kabbalah, or from Christianity to Christian mysticism, or I believe Islam to Sufi Islam. I believe Sufis believe in the multiple life thing, but I don't know that much about that particular area. I know they hung out with my brother Templars back in the day. Those guys were doing their stuff together, so they must be on their like clean about stuff. But in regards to that soul trap thing, for a long time, people have been coming back, like you said, and they're remembering things. So they come back with this memory of not necessarily wanting to come back down here, and they're under the impression that there's no hope, and there's these scary things. And I started saying to people, like, man, if somebody really wanted to farm your fear energy, you know what they would tell you? There's no hope. You're trapped. There's no getting out. Dude, the light at the end of the tunnel is adjusting your vibration, and man, that's happening sooner than later. I can tell.
Yeah, you're in the back rooms, baby. Yeah.
Yeah. I said, like, everybody, like, people are like, well, I understand what are you talking about. If you can't feel it, I don't know what to tell you now. But yeah,
if you can't feel it, you're in it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you're not observant, you don't know what's aware, then you're almost being swept with the river, so to speak.
I hate to say it, but yeah.
Yeah, there's a part in Dante's Inferno. Like, people don't understand the word passion used to be used for like a mental health issue. When somebody is so emotional about something, they cannot think clearly. So, I'm just passionate. No, that's not a good thing, actually. You're supposed to be thinking at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
don't disconnect the two.
Yeah. But don't be overwhelmed by the one or the other.
Right. Be in control.
And don't be.
Have your facilities.
Right. Balance. Be the middle pillar.
Yes.
There's a reason every occult science and even the ones that are in the Hebrew, you've got these pillars constantly. They're always seen right and left and black and white. Usually they're represented. And that's your instruction, is be in the middle. In the Bible, there is a part, whether this happened or not, I have no actual idea, but somebody basically just says to the Yeshua, Jesus character, they give him the coin, and he says, who is this? And he goes, it's Caesar. And he goes, well, what do you want? And he goes, well, pay your taxes. You live here, and you're in the spirit world, because you can't be in the spirit world all the time and still feed yourself. You have to feed yourself. You have the human body you're attached to. But don't be in the physical world to where you're not paying attention to the other. You have to kind of find that balance between the two.
That did happen.
That one did it good. Awesome. Because that's a good story. I'm glad to hear that happened. Yeah, you never know.
You never know. There's a lot of the Bible that was, that's a real one. Do you remember being a Knights Templar? Do you remember that lifetime?
So, it's honestly weird that you said that. When I was referring to that, I referred to, I'm a Mason, and so I have Templar. Masonry comes from Templars. Templars got the stuff from under the Temple, the stuff under the Temple came from Atlantis and Lemuria and all this other different stuff. That's at least my understanding of it. No, I don't necessarily, I don't have what I would call, visual mind's eye memories. What I have are what I would call extreme familiarity, where I can pick something up and I know how to use a Roman gladius very well, but I've never picked it up before in my life, and as soon as I knew how to sit and do this stuff and watching people on TV, I used to do that. I know how to do that.
Yeah.
So I get that sort of thing. I would love to. I want to do the hypnosis thing or something along those lines. I'm in Chicago, and so I get friends that do that out here. But you got to be careful where you go to with that kind of stuff, and who you're
sure.
Do that kind of thing with that too. So that's something I plan for the future. But yeah, I have friends that a lot of my friends in our community, the way you have the visual stuff from that. Mine is more what I would call informational understanding of things to where that's how that society works.
Like that coding is waking up in you.
Yeah, exactly.
We see it. Well, when I was prepping for our interview, I saw you in a cave. I was someone in that time period, and I saw you with me in that cave hiding something. In a cave.
Sure.
With the Knights Templar hiding something.
That's surprising at all. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got everything out from under the temple. I tell people all the time, it's not irritating, but it's like people get it wrong. They say, oh, well, you guys fought with the Catholic Church. No. We were very much frenemies. It's the best way to make Bibles in a movie or something. But everybody kind of had the same thing going on.
Yeah.
No, that's very cool. Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I always ask if anybody out there has messages for me or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's what came through. I could see that you had been there enough times that there was like a track made. There was a path in this underground place. And then at some point, I heard someone say, you're going to have to make that look like you've never been here. And you said, well, we're not going to leave it here forever. It's just for a month or so. Like whatever you were hiding. And so it was never there for long.
That's cool. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see if I dream about it today.
And it was gold. It was gold, and it was coins. It was papers.
Mm-hmm.
Maps. Papers were maps. And it was something. It was fabric that had a lot of blood on it. It was evidence.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the evidence was personal. You were saving it. You were saving a friend from getting in trouble. That was personal to you.
That's not surprising.
You helped someone bury a body.
Cool. Yes, I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe. Hopefully it was something. Hopefully it was for you.
Somebody's ride or die. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So with everything that's going on right now in the world, lots and lots of different people out there talking all kinds of different theories and all sorts of different stuff. Everybody says they know what's going on. What kind of stuff would you like people to understand is going on right now? Like, how do you see what's going on? Like, what to you is happening right now, I guess?
Well, I'm on the side of who really knows.
Yeah.
What I hear from the galactic councils and the angelic realm, when I go to meetings with them and when I pray, is that this summer there are going to be unbelievable changes. And that we're moving into what all of us have been manifesting as the new way. And it's going to be rough because the systems that are breaking, by the way, if anybody just heard that belch, it was my son in the kitchen. It was not me. I don't think everybody knows I'm on an interview right now. So if you heard that, it's not a ghost.
I couldn't hear it. It's okay.
Okay. You just never know. I love my life. So these systems that are breaking, which are like across the board, there are internal systems. So when we think about ourselves, it's school systems, it's church, it's money, it's governments. Those are breaking because we decided to break them. We decided those don't work anymore. And we decided they were breaking like 20 years ago, but it's taken us this long to decide it's time. And then the new systems, energetically, spiritually, they're already in place. We already know what's right. And the gooey part is going to be the people and the beings. I'm talking about like reptilians and some of the mantis beings too, who are going to fight so hard to keep that power.
Yeah.
And the best way is to love them through it without judgment. Not create relationships with them, but just to observe and say, that must be hard. Bye.
Right.
Must be hard for you. And then call in, we're working a lot in the council with Archangel Metatron, who sends beings back home, and Archangel Azrael, who is the Archangel of death and change, because there's going to be a great exodus of beings that just don't fit anymore. And then a lot of remodeling. That's Azrael. Always coming in, riding a motorcycle, and then like telling you how to redo your kitchen and stuff like that. That's Azrael. They're so busy right now working with Pleiadians. This summer is going to be big. We've got some dates around 4th of July. There's one first, like around June 6th.
Yeah.
4th of July, August 12th. We have these. And so with my family, we don't live in fear. But there are some days that we stay close. We're not doing a lot of traveling this summer. We're staying close. And we're not preppers. We don't have a ton of stuff in our house, but we have some extra water. We have some extra food, and we're preparing for the 3 days of darkness because that's something the angels have shown me where the grid's going to go down, but it's going to come back up. The 3 days of darkness, things say 3 days, it'll be short. And we should prepare for people who are in fear to do fear-based behaviors in that time. We know how people are. And know yourself. How will you behave when you're scared? Prepare yourself. And then after that, we start living more collectively in a shared living space, but we're starting from ground zero. So we've got to be really patient. And that's the part I can't see. I don't know the process yet because we know it abstractly. We know what it's got to look like. But we haven't had a chance as a new people to really meet together because the world leaders right now are so loud, leading in the old way.
Right.
And they said when that goes quiet, we'll be able to unite. And there will still be social media. There's still going to be technology. There will be AI, but it's not going to take over. So we'll be able to work with. We'll work in collaboration with these things. The body will be able to heal itself in tandem with technology, in tandem with medicine.
There's Edgar Casey was talking about the timeline split. And from my experiences and sources, or whatever you want to put it, you're looking at they're really starting in the fall. So in this fall, so personally, if everything goes as planned, it is my prediction. You're going to get an announcement from somebody who might be in the Oval Office basically around July 4th as to a confirmation on different stuff. And along with that, then going into, by the end of 2027, it's got to be undeniable. How, where, when, and how all of these different plans, like we're talking about, the guys who don't want to change or they want to have a last hurrah, they're as much, fear out of everybody as they can.
Yes.
For a while. But yeah, in that particular process for that, I think that's one of the things I've just tried to tell people. As they said, guys, there is this hope. Things are going in one of two directions. And you're either going to have the pleasant one where we're talking about, where you're able to interact with technology, but you can hear the trees when they talk again.
Yeah.
The other day, you said, how great it would be if you have all the technology, you don't have to go back to the freaking 1700s, and you're able to interact because you're a person who carries you vibratory rate to be able to balance things.
That's right.
So that 4 or 5 dimension level coming in, you said it's not extra space, it's think of the 4th dimension as like having access to all the information you want, and your 5th dimension is your ability to cognitively communicate with people.
Yes, and to integrate all of that into how you use it, into what you know. And we've been blocked from that. It's all here. The 5th dimension and the 4th dimension, they've been present all along. We've been in the 5th dimension, we just haven't been accessing it. Now we'll be able to access it. We have the codes now.
Is there, do you see, there are different things that people predict, different events. And I think these different events, it has to do with that, sometimes that particular person's view of the most likely outcome based on what things are right now. So I think sometimes people have different ways of viewing this kind of stuff. Do you, by any chance, have on the horizon where you see some sort of, what we'll call it, a snap or flash, where suddenly everybody has their psychic powers back? People are doing this prediction, some kind of an awakening event, as opposed to a slow awakening where it's kind of more of a snapping into everything.
I have seen that. I want to ask if that's still current. Angels, give me a yes or no. Will there be a sudden awakening? Yes. And then I heard them say, everyone will feel it to the degree that they are ready.
Yes.
And there's been one already. There was one last December. And
Did you know what date by any chance?
it was when the extraterrestrials were all above us.
My birthday's the 17th. That's the only reason.
It was around the 20th. It was around like the 18th or 19th, something like that. It was around there. It was before Christmas.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
before Christmas.
I knew the 17th is the beginning of Saturnella. Saturnella being time and the recycling and stuff like that. So that's why I wondered if it was on that same day. I was born.
Yeah, it was around there. It was around there. So there was an upgrade there, and it was subtle. It was very subtle. It wasn't meant. It was kind of like a preparation upload for all of us. And literally everything, everyone felt it. The inanimate objects, the animate objects, even the angels will say, there are no background people here. Everyone's here to grow. Everyone felt it. Everyone's system opened up and became a little more porous to prepare for the future uploads. And there will be more than one. Now, I've been shown that coming up pretty soon, there is a plan in place for the world government to like raise our frequency as a people all at once in a way to shock us, to knock us down. And that's what I was asking about, if that plan is still in place, because I saw in one of the council meetings that there was a plan. They were going to turn all of our frequency up so we could all of a sudden see into the fourth dimension clearly and really experience the fifth dimension, but do it so suddenly that it would shock us all. So all of a sudden we could see angels, demons, our spirit family, see the hologram we live in, and see the true reality, see the reptilians, and anyone who is masking, like the reptilians who are masking in a human body, they would be able to see them in real time. And the point of that would be, it would freak everyone out so much that we would weaken. And then the next step would be they were going to project something in the sky. According to the region, blue beam, according to the region. So they basically say, okay, now you're so weak, here's what you need to follow.
Right.
And it won't work, because we are awakening so much that the angelic mission has always been help each other remember you're not separate, you have everything you need inside you. Both of those things help us remember that we're connected to source. And if we can remember those, you have everything you need inside you, and you're connected to everyone else, it does not require you to look for something external. You don't have to look up to the sky and follow anything, because you're already connected to source. You can stay in your house and connect with source by closing your eyes and going within, because you already are God inside. It's not blasphemy. It's not a religious God. But you have the big God, non-religious, but big God. When I was little, the angels called it big God, little God. Big God is love. Little God is the religious God. Not bad, but what man created. That's the one they're going to project, whether it is where it's Buddha or Muhammad or Jesus, depending on where you live. And they said, ignore that, because when it's projected, it's not true. They're trying to get people to follow something, follow another authority figure. And it's not really Jesus coming back. It's a projection. They said, remember what we're telling you. You are God inside. You have everything you need inside you. So do not follow. And take the awakening as a blessing. Once they turn you up and you know. Once you know. But, they're underestimating us if they think that they can turn our vibration up and it's going to wipe us away. It's going to be harmful to a lot of people, because it's going to cause a lot of mental health. But what I hear from the meetings is that there are some plans in place to soften it, and it'll be heard. They'll use sound to do it.
And make the visions, to track the frequency unexpectedly.
Yeah, they're using sound. They've practiced it already at protests and things like that, bioweapons.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so I had, again, we get into this, it's like I'm listening to one thing and I forget what the other I was going to ask. So let's see here. So, okay, yeah, the thing I was going to say was, the New Jersey drowns, the stuff going on, everybody releasing the file, nobody's freaking out. Nobody, it's like, there are some people out there, well, I'm still waiting to see exactly what everything is, but there's nobody riding the streets. I mean, again, if you are seriously out there thinking that it's Russia and China flying stuff around the world, or that it's ours, and, but we don't use it in warfare, are you kidding me? We're dropping, $20 billion on this and that when we've got something in the garage that can go from here to another place using a wormhole, drop a nuke, and be back where it's supposed to go. No, I'm sorry, guys. We'd be using that stuff. We like winning wars,
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the other thing. It shows. I said, if you think this, we're not going into a place, adding 4 and 5 to this, you still have to grow food. You're not going to become, and I mean, I guess you can become breatharian. Those guys claim to exist. But, all of that different stuff, it's still a place because that's the other thing. The ontological shock is when somebody goes, I don't understand, like, what do you do, like, in a heaven place when you just think everything that's there? Like, how do you, like, what can you create that hasn't even been created? I'm like, you need to calm down, man. Okay, like, you're still going to be in the state. Your hands are not going to disappear. You'll still be able to clap and applaud and do everything you do. We're just unlocking. I told him, I said, just imagine like this, man. Imagine if I gave you 2 little antennas in your head, and one of them could make you talk to people, and the other could make you tap into the internet. But some people are going to be offered that through technology. They're going to be offered an assimilation into what will eventually be, I don't know, one of these P57, P41 timelines or something where you got grays coming back from this material. God only knows that you have several species, all of it. It becomes so complex at a certain point that I try to tell everybody who is sort of getting into this now, I said, look, man, I've been doing this for 35 years. You can't surprise me at this point. Yeah. All of this coming to turn out the way that I was predicting it would. There's nothing happening that's not happening the way I saw it happening from the time I was a child. So that's what I said, everything on track, everything going well, and we're going to get hiccups in the road, and there's going to be different things that happen. Human beings can make free, weird decisions. We have free will. So even the guys trying to control stuff can't actually predict how we're going to react to everything.
No.
They don't understand emotions. They don't get, so they're just running a computer program, and they can only react when we do something. They can't predict us the way that they would like to because we don't work on a logic-based system, and we have emotions that get mixed in with this, and we have free will, and they don't have free will. And so yeah, ultimately, as somebody said the other day, she's like, we're already out of there, and we're just like in here still because we're in real time or something. And I was like, again, I don't know, I try not to break stuff down to like a fine hair, but splitting hairs type of level. I said, if you can keep yourself at a high enough altitude that you see what's going on, and you understand that you want to start being a caring person instead of being a selfish person, basically.
Yeah, like a fear-based, selfish person, which is really hard. It's hard in this place, but it's attainable. You can have all of your feelings and be real about your life and still be in that place of love. It's possible. You really can.
Yeah.
And that's coming from me who's been an addict and has been abused and divorced and all those things. I mean, I've had a real life, and yet I can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Exactly. I'm a 3% or 2. I do read it, but that to do stuff. My DOC was drinking also, and it was everything else. I could do whatever I wanted. It was fine. That one thing though got the chemical hold, and it was going. So, but again, one of those things too, where at the time when you're going through anything like that, it's a complete nightmare, and you're miserable. And then when you come out of it, then it's like I can go and work with anybody right now who's having a problem coming to that realization.
Yeah,
get them whatever they need. But all of these different views, I find it funny that like literally 95 to 99% of the people that are like, knowledgeable on what's going on, every single one of us had some kind of a vice issue in the past with coping with a reality in a world that we did not like, did not disagree with.
Yes.
It's like, well, a devastated Tommy boy when he's telling Tommy, Chris Farley, he's thinking, you know what, buddy, this isn't a vacation for you down here, okay? The sales funnel, you got a rotting deer carcass in my trunk. That know what's coming. It's like, Another one of my friends, he was in Afghanistan, and me and him are into this. He's into it too. He knows what's going on, and he said, "I'll tell you, dude." He goes, "The worst part of being over there, it wasn't going on patrols or doing anything else. It was the boredom." He said, "I'd have to sit there for 15 hours a day. There's only so much you can talk about philosophy with people, and how many books you can read, or go to Starbucks if you're on the base." Yeah, you just need something. The sitting and waiting for something to happen can actually be, because then your anxiety's building up. What's going to happen? You heard about an explosion that happened, and oh man, what happened to those? He said it's just the worst. He said you'd almost, the minute they were actually in a situation where there's combat actively going on, you're functioning on your automatic, your training, your automatic responses, everything's going on. So he said that kind of stuff, or when you're patrolling, you're on heightened alert, you're paying attention to what's going on. But he said when you get back, you're done, and you've written out your debriefing and done all of this, now it's like, what the hell am I supposed to do for the rest of the day? But I think there's a lot of us that are condemned here. We're wanting to immediately, from the time we're children, okay, I can fix that. I can fix that. I can tell that person what I think they should. Oh, here's where you're doing this wrong. And, first off, you're a child, so they can listen to you. Then you're a teenager, so they're not going to listen to you. Then you get into your 20s, and now you realize how terrible the people are in some cases that are running this world. And that's just if you're studying the politics of it, and like what we'll call your conspiracies of, 1%ers and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you roll into the next, right? I found that to be a common denominator, is that everybody at some point has had something they were using to kind of escape from this 3D to reality, to go to, because you're experiencing 4 and 5 dimensional stuff, because it has that effect on us, where it doesn't have that effect on other people. That's make you.
It's the vibe of feeling the higher frequency, and sometimes those chemicals can mimic that.
Exactly. Yeah.
At least for a moment.
Yeah, it is. And that's what I said, is there's certain things that, or if you're at horror, you just have anxiety on a constant basis because of everything. You're a very empathic person. You're very sensitive, light worker, however you want to refer to yourself, But if you're absorbing everything, and nobody in your family has ever told you what's going on, and, you don't know what's happening, you don't come from a family of people with the same thing, especially, no, you're crazy. Those are demons who talk to you and all.
That's so hard.
Yes. That, I tell people, I said, man, you're driving your kid to do this. You're going to drive your kid into a problem if you keep talking to them like that. But yeah, it's that being able to escape from the anxiety and the sort of frustration that you're feeling. Like, yeah, you're looking for something, for a momentary escape from the reality there. So, but yeah, anybody out there listening to this, man, if you're having any kind of a problem with anything, dude,
we get it. Yeah.
I know how to help. But yeah, so there's that going on with that there. Let's see. So you're talking about, so we're hoping for, a good press announcement here, something coming to be on 4th of July. Is there anything else that you think might be happening on the horizon coming up that you've been shown, or that you feel comfortable talking about? If it's not, I understand. I know sometimes things are personal and you don't want to share.
I know that our collaboration with the extraterrestrials and the ultra-terrestrials, they're from Inner Earth. That's coming online as well. That's coming into play in this year ahead. And that's been in the works for quite a while. I almost want to use the word curriculum, because I know that it's part of my job to work with different sectors of beings and notice things like how they greet each other, how they spend time with each other. So when we're all together, we can play well together, because, some planets are more affectionate, some are more businesslike, and there's been a lot of time spent just being together. And there's more time spent socially in the meetings, because they will be inhabiting Earth. This will be more of a place that is seen as a utopia. And right now, they're watching Earth to see what happens. But what's also going on is there's a curriculum in place that we might call nonviolent communication. And that's being taught and talked about. And the timeline for that seems to be, let me see if I can access those notes. I'm just going to look above my computer and open up that file. August. The first, okay, they say August, and August will come gently because they'll come in without us knowing. They'll come in avatar form, humanoid, and then when it's time, they'll take their costumes off. But that's something significant that will change because at some point, we'll be able to walk hand in hand with other beings. We practice this on Earth through processes of racism, learning that different is not bad. And when it's been put in our path, when people have tried to say that, Black people can't use this restroom or this water fountain, we've always denied it. We do have problems with that in our country, in our world, yes. But we've never stopped working on it. And that's what's been watched.
Yeah.
So we're coming to a point where the beings feel safe to come here.
Yeah.
They won't populate the whole Earth because they don't feel safe everywhere. So they may start in Africa first.
Okay.
South Africa. Some might be in part of California, but they're also waiting to see if there are parts of the Earth that will be here, because some parts of the Earth may not be here anymore.
Yep.
There are some places that are imploding, and that's the part that I don't want to really speak about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because some of it is happening because of the climate, and some of it is happening because the governments are making a choice. They're mining lithium and some other resources, and they're creating fires and things like that are looking like they're nature, but they're not.
Right.
More that's going to be happening this summer, I'm afraid to say.
I didn't. Los Angeles. Not any particular places or anything like
Yeah,
that. Okay, so I do have some news for you this year. So, speaking of awakening, speaking of everybody popping up and remembering things, you are probably aware of this, I am guessing. I myself, I had this testing done when I was a kid that I thought was real weird from the hearing and all sort of different stuff. So, it comes then up, I now is to yeah, that's through a different program I met. She was a part of it. One of my friends whose name is also Rachel. But she was talking about her experience with it, and I was going, wait a second, I did that stuff, and I don't really, see, I was in a very small school. There was probably like 11 kids per grade in the small town in Virginia, so the place parked, Dr. Monroe was doing the little, the stuff in there, and at least one point, I do remember myself and two other kids that were in this sort of like gifted group with me there, being in the orange room that was the nurse's office and drinking something.
You drank the stuff. Oh, okay. Go too. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. You said, so what, do you remember anything else to do? Then no, I don't.
No.
I have no idea why they had us do that. And then I said, I don't remember. My parents never signed a gate form. I never had any kind of stuff like that. But with somebody else, it seems like they had independent people all over the place who were just doing it. I did teacher used to work for Pentagon at the time that I was in that grade. So coincidence? Maybe not. But yeah, I ended up leaving there, come to Illinois, and the school district I went into was like a year and a half behind me on math and everything. And so I completely checked out. Because the guy doesn't pay attention, looks like he has ADD all the time because nothing's moving fast enough for me. So that was kind of my experience with that. But there's everybody is now getting out and figuring this all out, and there's all kinds of stuff going on with that. What would you like to share your experience with that, or knowledge that you have evidence from your spirit guides and everything?
When I was in elementary school, my guides would tell me sometimes not to go because there would be listening devices, or they would be making reports about certain children. And so I would say I had a stomach ache. So I know that. I remember that a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I don't really remember much about it except what the juice tasted like.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff. It was so long ago. But I do remember my guides a couple times saying, you shouldn't go today. It's not safe today. And it felt odd. It felt odd. And then there was a woman that came in to lead it that wasn't part of the school. I remember that. She felt different. And one time I saw her eyes go reptilian.
Mhm.
I remember that. And I knew what that meant. I had seen a couple of them before. I called them lizards, lizard people, when I was little. That's all I remember. But I know from as a grown-up, I know that they were recruiting children, and some of those children across the country would disappear. They were recruiting children to be trained as spies. They were looking for psychic children. Some of the children stayed in their homes and they were just watched as they grew up. Some of the other children that were in foster care, especially, they would get lost in the system and they would end up being wards of the state and living in institutions, and those children would end up working for the CIA, working in government systems, and they just got lost. They fell through the cracks, and they were highly trained to be remote viewers, things like that.
Yeah.
That's what they were looking for. They're looking for gifted children that were either gifted or could be manipulated. And also children that didn't have people looking after them. Unfortunately.
Yeah, this is a worldwide thing. You don't know this out there, and you think, oh, the U.S. did something bad. No, dude, every country out there was doing this. Russia was doing it. Everybody was. It's just, just stuff you're not supposed to talk about. And trust me, somebody is doing it behind the scenes. Because if you're not, the other guy is, it puts you at a disadvantage. And honestly, that's not an unfair principle. I'm not criticizing that principle, but I don't agree with the program itself. But
and we're programmed in our country to always believe authority figures, care for them, believe them blindly, and that's part of the propaganda. We're not taught to question. And so when we see something that's extraterrestrial, or we have a bad feeling about a teacher or a policeman, we're not really encouraged to say anything. In fact, we're shamed for it. So if we feel something that is a conspiracy theory, well, you got to really be careful who you tell, especially if you're a little kid and you come home and you say, I don't feel right about my teacher, and you don't really have a reason to say why. You're not going to get anywhere with that. Or if you see something that nobody else sees, like a UFO, even if you work in the Air Force, there's a program in place that was written in place to shame those people so it didn't go any farther. And those things are being disclosed now.
Yeah.
Those things filter into our culture, into each other. So when we are talking to each other about what we know, and our clear cognizance, we know because we know, and that belongs to all of us. We have intuition. That's part of the programming they tried to dumb it down, water us down, our power, because they've written it into our cultural dogma that we're not supposed to question. That's one of the structures that's breaking, and it scares them. It scares the people in power.
Yeah.
And we have to let them through it and say, sorry, everything ends at some point.
Yeah, number one, anybody tells you you're not allowed to question about anything, red flag right off the bat. Just go find somebody else to talk to. Number two, oh shoot, now I of course forgot the other thing that I was going to say. I'll mention that. But we were talking about the different authority figures and stuff along those lines. Yeah, as the different sort of systems and everything are collapsing like this. Oh, now I know what I was going to say. Yeah, congratulations every time you start a conspiracy, folks, because the clock is ticking. Because here's what happens. The conspiracy is a bunch of organized people making the lie seem believable. Well, at a certain point in the future, facts don't reconcile with the story you're telling people, and we realize there's a racketeering operation going on, basically. And that is what people are waking up to, is this giant sort of racketeering that all of these different authority power structures have been doing for a very long time, picking their successors and all kinds of stuff like that, manipulating people with all sorts of different things. But that's why this stuff is coming out. And it's like, they have to get it out there, because at a certain point, people start rioting. Look at the way nobody's responded to anything with the Epstein stuff. All of these different things going on. You're talking about, why isn't anybody being arrested? I don't know, man. You tell me. I don't know. You know, at a certain point, it's pitches and torch flakes.
No.
What pitchforks and torches, you know, going after Frankenstein's monsters. What happens eventually at a certain point? You end up with the French Revolution or something, you know. So if you know, that's why this information's getting out in a controlled manner. Is I think you're trying to judge and watch how people are responding to it too.
Yeah.
To decide how much, because you've got, you know, you got your black hat on one side, your white hats on the other, and you know they're at war with each other. Some people creations, some people want it all released.
And if it falls against, our whole system collapses.
Right.
Which is what's happening anyway.
Right. Exactly. And there's this, like, what I said, you know, it's great if you can have everybody be honest, and we're all suddenly living in this sort of like socialist, you know, everybody's got freedom, you don't have to worry, no, you own everything, it's not communist, don't worry about that. But let's just say everybody takes care of each other a lot more. And I say, okay, so you're at point A, and that's point Z. Okay, what's B, C, D, E, F? How do you get there? What are the
right
for that?
That's right. That's the part we don't know yet.
Right.
That's the part we haven't had time or opportunity to grow.
Mm.
And we'll get there. And we also don't totally know what the goal is. We just know we want to do better.
Right, exactly. I that's it. Start doing better, and then the goal will make itself forward for you.
Yes.
If you run enough, eventually one day you can just go like, oh, a marathon? Yeah, I can run, and then I'll still run that marathon because you've been running the whole time. So you didn't know the outcome was going to be that at some point in the future you win the Boston Marathon. You just got obsessed with running a while back, and then you run the Boston Marathon, you become famous. Look at that. Now your life is totally changed. And it's all because you put the effort into it.
You started running.
You did?
No, I'm just saying because you start running. You just start doing it day after day.
Yeah, just pursue something. And so that's what I told you. I said, that's it. I said, if you're just, I've always made the joke that if you really want my church, and I'm going to make merch with this on it probably, but it'll just say like, you know, the church of holding the door for people.
No, and that
Hold the door for people. You have no idea what somebody has had in their day. They've lost their faith in humanity. And the fact I had this happen where I'm like, God, it's terrible. And the person in front of me just goes, here, guy, you know, and you're just like, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I preached last week, and when I was there, we were selling as a fundraiser, be kind signs.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that's so simple. I love it.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, sometimes we don't know what to do. And I was so thankful. And I was just doing pulpit supply. It wasn't my church or anything. I just travel around and preach sometimes and just be kind signs. And they thought, okay, that is a small step in the right direction because we don't always know what to do. But having that in my yard, I'm thankful for that because it's a step in the right direction. It shows who I am. It shows who my family is. And it gives a little direction. That's all you got to do in this moment. Just be kind to yourself and to everybody else.
And that does not mean being pathologically compassionate. A lot of people, or as I just call it, codependent usually. But, you know, these people, well, like, you know, you just do everything. You're running around. Being kind to people does not mean you have to let people take advantage of you.
Oh, we're not weak.
Yes, exactly. You're an autonomous being or soul, or however you want to put it. Nobody has a right to tell you to do anything. Don't kneel for anybody, none of that stuff. So, yeah, that's you got to get being kind. Like I said, and hold the door. You don't have to pick up the person's grocery tab. We're not talking extreme love. It's just that small little thing. You know, what can you do to try and make things better for everybody around you?
Yeah, just connect.
Yeah.
Connect to people.
That's wonderful. Rachel, I know we're coming up. We've been here hour each, and I want to make sure I'm being careful of your time. And you got family over with you and stuff there. So, is there any like kind of like any kind of closing stuff that you'd like to talk about or say? Hopefully, you know, if things are moving forward, hopefully you'll come back. I'd love to keep talking about.
I'd love to. Every time. I'm so grateful to spend time with you and your audience. And you know what I hear from the realm is that things are changing as we speak. The future's fluid because we continue to create it. We're creating it collectively. So we have some milestones that we've set up. Not we as angels, but we as a people. And those milestones seem to be, we all decided to incarnate this time around because we knew it would be the age of change. And what is ebbing and flowing is how we're doing it and how we're responding to what's happening. So, when we share these things that could happen and when they happen, just prepare and know that things could change and vacillate between them, and just be ready with a kind heart. We don't have to have fear because we're spirit. There is no real death. There's really nothing and no thing that can harm us if you think about it in that way. We really are in control. We really are. Everything is a vibration. If we can step back and look at it from a wider perspective, we are more than okay. We came here for this. We came here for this.
Yep.
And that's what I try to tell myself every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to do the same thing several times a day. It's like, but yeah, there a comedian was making jokes that I can never get a cop because I'd see so many things during the day around. Just like, well,
Yeah.
I got this thing. That's it. Can't see that anymore. But yeah. So it's just this is getting better. It's going to get better. Just
Yes, it's getting better. Incrementally, it's getting better.
Yeah.
Because we're fighting.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you again so much for coming on. Thank you for the awesome information, by the way. That was very cool to hear.
My pleasure.
Let me know. But yeah, hopefully things are going on here. We'll keep in touch, and yeah, I would love to have you on again and just find out, as things come up, what we can talk to and share with people.
Yeah, I would love that. I have a show that people can view on Monday nights, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, Ask the Angel on the BBS radio TV network. People want to catch it. We talk a lot about this stuff. Wonderful, weird, woo-woo stuff. So if people want to catch it, join me.
That's what night is it on?
Monday nights.
Monday nights. Yeah,
Yep.
Monday nights.
So go to my website to catch it.
Sure. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna get all that information for you. Will be like in the bio kind of area here for everybody, so
Cool.
be able to get in touch with that. So, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Thank you, Rachel, for coming out, and we will see you guys as things move forward here.
Thank you, Ryan.
Got it.